perfect. Yeah, you walk that walk, watch the muscle pop. You're so picture perfect.
Welcome back, everybody, to Bravo Tea with the Stay-at-Home Mom. I'm Erika, and I'm ready to recap all of our shows. So on Beverly Hills, we still have the ladies in St. Lucia, and I just have to say, it looks so beautiful here. I've never been to the Virgin Islands, but I'm going to add this one on my list of vacations that we are going to take one day. Everyone is dressed in white. We can't say that it's like a P. Diddy party anymore because that's frowned upon, but white party, they're all looking good. Garcelle and Kyle have matching outfits. This has only happened like one other time on the show. So they show the flashback to Kyle and Lisa Rinna when they had that like Pretty Woman, Julia Roberts polka dot-esque dress on, which was super cute. And as soon as they flashed it back, I remembered that. But since Garcelle and Kyle are wearing the same outfit, maybe Kathy can mistake them for each other. Because remember like a couple seasons ago when she said to Garcelle, "Oh, I thought you were Kyle." It's like, what? Oh. So they all get to dinner and then everyone is like ordering like they're on Ozempic or just I guess it's just like the LA ordering. Like when I'm on vacation, splurge, but everyone is ordering like salads. Garcelle ordered a Greek salad with no feta cheese. Like that's not even a Greek salad then at that point. Kyle ordered something and then said, "Can I have the mashed potatoes on like a side plate for everyone to share?" And it's like, it's already a side, so it's little. So you're going to each take like one bite of the mashed potatoes, basically. Like this is how they live, I suppose, their lives. And that's why they all have rock and bods, especially Kyle. But I would have just eaten my whole side of mashed potatoes. But she is concerned about the thirst traps they're going to be taking. And it shows back to when they were at Sutton's fashion show. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, we should take some thirst traps on the trip." And it's definitely because she needs revenge on Maurizio making out with that young girl in the airport. And then they like oddly talk about being like naked because so the thirst traps. And then Bose is like, "Oh, I have this like beautiful outside shower in the villa." And I was like, "Who wants to take a shower in the outside shower?" And she's like, "Oh, Dorit's like, oh, I really don't like do the outdoor shower." Now it had like a whole rock wall. So it was an open roof. There was outside, but it's not like everyone would like see you naked and it's like a glass window. It was like a rock wall with just no roof. So technically outside, but no one can see you. And Dorit was like, "No, I just don't like to be naked in front of people. Like, I'm just not even like naked in front of my husband." And she needs to kind of stop referring to PK as her husband. Like, yes, legally that is still your husband, but I need you to just call him PK. And I don't understand why you don't walk around naked in front of your husband. That is so weird. Like, he just doesn't see you naked. Like, you have to cover up with a bathrobe. And also, she shouldn't be feeling self-conscious about it because she's 10,000 times more attractive than him. But I'm sure he wants her to walk around naked. So I just found that very odd. But then Jennifer Tilly revealed, whenever she reveals anything or just starts talking about her stories, it's very funny and fascinating. She said, I didn't hear if she said this was like an ex-boyfriend or her ex-husband, but she said she would wake up at 5 a.m., do her hair and makeup, then go back to sleep. Then her man would think she just woke up looking like that. Does he just not know like what makeup looks like? Because also she wears like a red lipstick. You can tell that she has makeup on. We can all tell when people have makeup on. I mean, I just found that weird. And then it's like, do you really go back to sleep? Because then what if you're like rolling around and then you'd actually look worse? Because then your makeup would like smear all around your face and I just thought that was really sad though, that she had to wake up at 5 a.m. to do her hair and makeup to look pretty to wake up to. This, take it or leave it. This is what I look like when I wake up. No one looks pretty when they wake up. And you know another thing? You know how like in movies they wake up and then they start like kissing on each other? No, morning breath. No one does that in real life. You're not like full-blown open mouth kissing as soon as you wake up. You're going and brushing your teeth. But they didn't even get the side plate of mashed potatoes yet before Sutton and Dorit get into it. And Erika said she believes that Sutton does not always go by her word. So she's definitely like a do as I say, not as I do. And Sutton said, I'm not letting you guys do this to me. And Dorit's like, you can't always be the victim. And she's like, don't tell me what I can and cannot do. No one's telling you what you can and cannot do, but she does preach like the sisterhood, the I want everyone to be close and nice and love each other. And that's what Erika's calmly saying. And you're saying it, you're not representing it, Sutton. It's like I said, do as I say, not as I do. She gives like a half-assed, not honest apology to Dorit, because when you have to be told to apologize, and or if the person says, I would have liked an apology, and then they go, oh, well, I'm sorry. It's like, you're saying it, but I don't know if you mean it. And it's like, words are words, actions speak louder than words. And I think that's what Dorit is waiting for. And I'm not saying, before people get all like attacky, because I've had some people attack on the TikTok being like, oh, well, Dorit does this and then. I get it. But Dorit is down right now. And Sutton's kind of kicking a man while she's down, which we'll get into later, that they say. But also, it's like Sutton throws a temper tantrum when she's backed into a corner, which some of these ladies do. I feel like Kyle can do this sometimes too, but not as annoyingly or dramatically as Sutton. That she just puts her hands up and like starts yelling and just saying, oh, well, don't tell me what to do, Dorit. And her she gets like so Southern with the accent too. It's very annoying. But Bose said she's glad that Kyle and her talked and kind of cleared the air, and they really related when she went over to Kyle's house and they bonded on I get it. I wanted the separation from my husband, but first time I saw him with another woman, I was like, get this bitch out of here, as she quoted. And then Bose, so I thought that was great when her and Kyle met at Kyle's house, really showing like, I get it, I'm leveling with you. Took it to another level of being a girl's girl. She said that she went to Soho House like the week prior, saw Maurizio was out with that girl he was kissing on in the Greek airport. And Bose sent her a 3-minute voice note, and she played it on the confessional. It was so funny. She's like, girl, I'm at Soho House. I have eyes on Maurizio. Now, if you want me to go up to this table, I will, and I'll cut a bitch. She didn't say I'll cut a bitch, but she said something like that. And then she's like, oh, and by the way, she's ugly. Like, if you're going to go younger, they better be attractive, but she is not attractive. That was great. Bose is definitely a girl's girl. I think she's a great addition to the show, and she's just funny, and she just tells it like it is. And Kathy said that's a girl's girl. Kathy really likes Bose because that's her sister too. So she's got her back, and we know Kathy doesn't like Maurizio. So she's like, I'm so glad Bose is doing the Lord's work and saying that this girl is ugly. I didn't get like a good look of the girl when they were kissing, but she didn't look that like drop dead gorgeous. Like, oh, I need to just make out with you in this airport and like shame my wife. I mean, Kyle's looking hot, hotter than ever. And I think she's way more attractive than this rando hoe. But Garcelle finally is getting her moment to ask the question that she always wants to ask of Kyle. And she's hoping and thinking Sutton's going to have her back to like bamboozle Kyle. And she said, just to be honest, like we always are tiptoeing around the Morgan situation. And then Kyle was like, I mean, I don't really know what to say. There's like nothing going on. I had an appearance to do, so that's why I was at her concert. So all of a sudden this season, we're not allowed to say her name, even though last season you're getting tattoos running around town with her. And now you're telling me you got paid to appear at her concert in the South of like a couple thousand people, and maybe that's it that's there, probably like 2,000 people. And I'm not shaming her. I'm just saying it's not like she's selling out stadiums. And also, I don't understand why Kyle would have a paid appearance to be at Morgan Wade's concert. It's so weird. I just don't think so. But Garcelle is really mad that Sutton is not having her back, aka taking Kyle down. And like Erika said in the confessional, we don't know who Garcelle is sleeping with. We really don't know anything about Garcelle at all. And we really don't, honestly. Like, we know that her son wants to be a model. We know that Oliver struggled with drugs and whatnot. And we saw Oliver do his own bad doings on Vanderpump Rules, like making out with Raquel when he's like still kind of married with a child. And that's about it. And Garcelle built a beach house. Like, we don't really know anything personally about Garcelle, because you could say, oh, well, we know about the kids. That's her kids. What about her, herself? Yeah, who is she hanging out with? Let's dig more into her relationship. Let's bring her ex-husband on. Let's like get him to talk about her. It's just like, I feel like she really wants to pry into Kyle and a little bit kicking a woman while she's down. And it's kind of like, this is all we're going to get out of Kyle's mouth about the Morgan Wade situation. I guess we need to let it die, and we can all just still think what we think. And Garcelle probably knows the truth. I mean, you live there. Do you think they're dating? It's just, a lot of people have said that live out there, 100% they are together. So it's kind of like, okay, we got our answer. Why do you need it to come from Kyle's mouth at this point? Like, who cares? So they all go back to the room, and Garcelle asks Sutton why she didn't say anything. And I feel like Garcelle literally doesn't like anyone on the cast, so it's kind of easy for her to take people down or ask like really invasive questions, because at the end of the day, her and Kyle aren't really friends, so she doesn't really care if she's hurting Kyle's feelings. She's doing it for a paycheck to stay on the show, because we got to remember that too. Sometimes they do go at each other to stay on the show, and I believe Dorit does that a little bit to stay relevant. I mean, she does have a storyline, we can quote unquote say, this season with her and PK's marriage, but maybe she feels she doesn't really like Sutton anyway, so she's just going to have drama with Sutton. I feel like they kind of pick someone to have drama with that it doesn't matter at the end of the day to them, because they don't really like them. So it's like, I'll ruffle her feathers for entertainment and for ratings and to stay on the show. And to be honest, sometimes I get annoyed when they argue. I know we always need it sometimes, but sometimes I'm also like, oh my God, let's just like stop talking about this. But Garcelle's getting mad at Sutton, and it's interesting. And she's like, I don't know why Sutton feels the need to bow down to Kyle, because there have been numerous times that Kyle could intervene and stand up for Sutton, and she doesn't. So I'm just going to let this go. And then in the other room, though, so they're having their fight, which I feel like they're the only two friends besides Jennifer Tilly, but she's a friend of. But I feel like the two allies are now like at a crossroads a little bit. We got Kathy Hilton in the other room, like I said on my previous episode, who brings full-size bottles of skincare on vacation. It's a little crazy, but she's on the phone with her assistant, or like brand manager, it said. And she's like, hold on, I'm just changing. Let me put the phone down. I knew she was going to walk away from that phone and forget about her. She goes into the bathroom doing her whole skin regimen, like the 10 steps, doing this like massagey thing on her face. And then on speaker, it's like, Kathy? And I really do not think she does it for like acting purposes. I really feel like this is like her full-blown personality, and I love it. And it brings lightness to the show, because like I said, I like a little drama. I like to see these women go at it a little, but I don't want the whole episode to be Sutton and Dorit screaming at each other, and Sutton with her forced accent at times to be like, what do you want from me, Dorit? It's just like too much. Not saying Dorit's innocent, but I really would prefer if Sutton perhaps did not come back next season. I'm done with her. I'm done. Let's get like another type of Lisa Rinna in there. And I know some people didn't like Lisa Rinna, but she had a good run. She had an interesting home life. She had an interesting family. She just had an interesting career. Or like, I know Denise Richards was a little bit of a flop on the show. I am watching her show now. I'm going to do a little bonus episode and release that. But I think she has an interesting life. She just wasn't right for that show, but her show on her own is like, it's not like riveting, like the most groundbreaking thing on TV, but it's kind of interesting because like she's an interesting person. She has an interesting career. She has interesting friends. Sutton just isn't that. She gets a lot of money from her ex-husband, but that doesn't mean she's interesting. She's not. There's so many people in LA that are interesting. Maybe they don't want to be on this show. But I mean, we could get some actresses, some something, or someone married to a famous actor. I don't know. I really do think it's because people want to be private because there is a lot to choose from in this town, as Kyle would say. So I would be fine with Sutton getting out and us getting like someone more famous or interesting in there. But then they all go on a catamaran boat. So they're all wearing their hot bathing suits. Some have already taken their thirst trap photos for the day. And Kathy was just asking Jennifer Tilly to like pass her all this stuff on the boat. And then Jennifer was like in her confessional, like, I don't know if she thinks I'm the help or what. And sometimes I think she forgets who I am. I don't think she does it on purpose. And then Kyle in her confessional was like, Kathy doesn't care who you are. You could be royalty or getting nominated for an Oscar. And she's going to ask you to pass her that silverware that's over there if you're conveniently closer. And I do believe that. I don't think it's like because she's putting her down. She's just like, Kathy's like an old lady, kind of. Like she doesn't really maneuver like an old lady, but her mind sometimes does. Like using Rick Hilton's iPad and commenting on people's things and forgetting she's on Rick's iPad. Just like silly little old people mistakes and stuff like that. But the gust of wind is picking up on this boat. And you know what's also picking up? The drama. So we get Erika saying to Sutton that she could be harsh on women when they're going through a tough time. So of course Sutton has to be really dramatic. And she thinks she means all women in the free world. Well, she doesn't. She's just talking about the cast right here because that's all you guys are really supposed to be concerned about while you're filming. And Erika said in her confessional, Sutton's fake sisterhood, fake apology to Dorit. She's trying to sell it to us right now. But if you really meant it, you wouldn't have to sell it to us right now, which is true because Dorit and Kyle are sunbathing on the front of the windy boat that they're all about to fly off of. All their cover-ups and hats are about to fly off. They're holding on for dear life, I feel like. And she's telling everyone, you know, I really meant apologizing to Dorit last night. Why do you even have to say that and convince everyone? She's trying to convince them that she really meant it. And by her doing that, I don't think she really meant it either. She just said it. That doesn't mean you mean it. And like Sutton's big thing is going to be like, well, I apologize. It's like, yeah, but did you mean it? Like, who cares that you said sorry? It's like, no one cares. And as always, Sutton turns herself into the victim. And I'm glad Garcelle isn't sticking up for her right now. And she's kind of mad at her because I needed to see her realize that she's being ridiculous. But I still don't think she realizes she's being ridiculous. And Kyle and Dorit come back. And Dorit's like, I mean, Sutton, do you realize like we can say things to you? I don't remember everything Dorit said. But like basically they're just kind of like, we're just like telling you how it looks or how we feel. And if you don't want to side with us, that's your prerogative and it's fine. But that's still going to be our opinion. I can relate to that. I mean, we're all entitled to our opinion. We all do not have to agree. And we all do not have to see eye to eye. It's a very agree to disagree. But if we have to listen to you say your opinion, you're going to listen to me say my opinion. And then at the end of the day, if you still don't side with me, I don't really care. I just wanted to get my opinion out there. And then Sutton kind of mocked Dorit because she's like, I can't really understand you because Sutton just gets so flustered and upset. And she really maybe needs like a Xanax or maybe she needs to sip on that vodka and grapefruit juice. Or maybe the problem is she's sipping on the vodka and grapefruit juice and she gets too hype. She just goes from 0 to 60 and it's like, no one knows why you're like freaking out. Like, just relax. And she's like, oh, should I talk in an English accent? You'll understand me more like a child. And Dorit's like, maybe. Like everyone is so calm, cool, and collected. Chill as a cucumber, cool as a cucumber. And Sutton's like being weird. Even Jennifer Tilly can't say anything because she's like, yeah, you're losing your marbles a little bit. Jennifer Tilly's sitting over there like having sips of whatever liquor she was. And Sutton's like, we're not going to have Sutton on trial at sea. It's like, no one said that. We're just talking about something. You're putting yourself on trial. You're putting yourself on the deserted island. And as always, she gets up to escape, but she can't because they're all on a boat. So she just goes downstairs. But what if she would have like jumped off the boat into like a little like raft and like paddled back to land? That would have been so funny. I kind of like, we should always put them on a boat so she can't leave and she's trapped with everyone. And that's when Garcelle in her confessional was like, I am not going after her because I was wanting her to come to my defense or back me up last night. She didn't. So she could figure this out all on her own. Good for you, Garcelle. And she can. She's a big girl. And since you have a problem with Bose being Dorit's mouthpiece, which I don't think she is as much as Garcelle thinks she is, because the previous night at dinner, Bose did say to Dorit, Sutton apologized. Did you hear her? So Bose is kind of like alerting Dorit, like, she did apologize and you need to accept it. And then Bose even said in her confessional, first kind of negative thing she said about Dorit, she said, I've learned that she has trouble with apologizing and accepting people's apology. So she's not as blind loyalty as we are claiming that she is, like Garcelle is. Garcelle's very blind loyalty to Sutton, and it's very annoying. But for once, she's not, because she's ticked off at her, and I'm glad. Let her have her temper tantrum downstairs. Kathy goes to like calm her down a little, and then Sutton's down there crying like drama. Pull out the world's smallest violin. And she's like, F all these bitches. I think she said see you next Tuesdays, because we got the subtitles and then we got the bleeps with the stars. And I was like, what's that many letters with an S on the end? I think it's a see you next Tuesday. And it's like, if you hate everyone on this cast so much that, by the way, majority of them were there before you, leave. Please leave. In the words of JoJo, get out, leave right now. You're not friends with anyone, and none of them like you, except Garcelle. And you could take her with you too sometimes. Like, take or leave both of them. Let's replace them with like a powerhouse celebrity. I don't know. Sutton's just really getting on my nerves with she always needs to be the victim. And that's what Kyle said. Like, Sutton always wants to storm off when times get tough and make herself the victim and make like this talk that could have just been a talk into like a big ordeal. It's so dramatic. And it is. Practice what you preach. You want everyone to be nice to each other. You want everyone to have the sisterhood. Well, then lead by example. So let's take a little break right here, and then we're going to recap Summerhouse. Need a last-minute gift? Look no further than Acred Creative. Discover personalized gifts, distinctive decor, and must-have business essentials. Elevate your space or amplify your brand with their unique creations. Go to acredcreative.com and use my code BRAVOT10 to receive 10% off your order. That's ACRED creative.com and use my code BRAVOT10. And we're back. And as always, we have a themed party for this episode of Summerhouse. And I love the themes. And you know who always brings it the hardest with the theme parties and like splurges the most with everything? Carl. So it is his weekend, his time to shine. Lindsay's not there. All the men want him to get laid. Let's go. Craigie's here for the weekend. Let's go with the dramas between him and Kyle. We're going to get that. Lexi will not be there this weekend because she's visiting her friend that had a baby. And she'll probably want to have a baby by next week with Jesse Solomon. So it's kind of nice to have Jesse just interact with everyone without Lexi there. And I know he's just as guilty. He's just as like annoying as she can be. They're driving up, all the guys, and he's like talking about Lexi already. And then they were like, oh, we haven't even left the city and you've brought up Lexi. It kind of like is annoying. It's like, great that they are attracted to each other. Great that they like each other and vibe, but enough already. Like, I want to see you guys interact with the rest of the house. And this is what's going to be bad for Lexi. I know damn well they are like not going to last. They're not going to be boyfriend and girlfriend, because I feel like we would have already seen that on their social media. Like, you can't not post the person for the whole entire year. So they definitely are not together. I think it's going to implode by the end of this season, this summer, last summer, referencing. She will have not even made friends with the girls in the house. So Jesse and you will be at odds, kind of like Sierra and Westar, but it didn't matter for Sierra because she was already friends with everyone. No one even talks to Lexi because she's too busy always chasing and hunting down Jesse Solomon. But Amanda arrives it's her birthday. They bought all her favorite snacks, put it around. She said she is 33 years old and she is feeling herself. She is like her time to shine. She's getting her bathing suit collection ready. She's on new meds. She's Amanda 2.0 and she's loving life. Little awkward. Kyle and Craig under the same roof, not spoken yet really, but we need to give it time because they will. We'll get to the drama. Carl told Kyle that he is going to be opening his sober sports bar, though, that Lindsay shut down last year. And he said everyone is welcome to try it, though, even her. And now it would make sense for her to attend the sober sports bar because she's pregnant. Good for you, Carl. And I'm sure it's always like a little bit of a push and a stick it to you when someone told you, oh, that's going to fail or that won't work. And then you do it and it is successful. It's like, yeah, remember that time you told me that wouldn't work? Yeah, I'm doing great over here. So good for Carl. I feel like a lot of people are choosing a sober lifestyle, not just because of reasons like Carl has, like he actually had a problem with it. Some people are just choosing it to be healthy. So I think it's going to do well because some people want to just go out. And let's say, even if you do drink, maybe you just meet a friend there during the week when you don't feel like having alcohol. So I don't think there's going to be like a complete failure with him having it. And he's doing it in New York City. So it's like there's a lot of different type of stuff, a lot of different type of people there. He's not opening it somewhere where it's like, oh, well, we're not trendy here. That's not going to work. I think it's going to do well. And he's on TV. So hello, we're all going to go and try Carl's stuff. But Jesse and Sierra this weekend need to have a chit chat because he said he is tired of her ignoring him because of West. And he's like, the three of us were really close. So I'm going to talk to Sierra this weekend because he misses the three friends. We're the three best friends that anyone could have. And he's asking West about his love life. And no one cares about West's love life. And he said he's, not really talking to anyone particular, but if he was, he would be telling Jesse Solomon. And I don't know if that deems true because I don't know if he wants to tell us on camera he's talking to someone specific because we all have our pitchforks out for him because of what he did to our drop dead gorgeous, lovely Sierra. But Jesse comes down to dinner and everyone is shocked he wasted a really cute outfit while Lexi isn't there. And then he asked if he missed Kyle and Craig squashing the beef because they seem to be sitting there just like Craig was like, oh, they brought a birthday cake out for Amanda. And he's like, the new trendy way to eat cake is like put a glass in it, which is ironic. He said that because that's how Madison and Brett announced their pregnancy was they like took a champagne glass and kind of like put it in the cake and like pulled it away and pulled it out. And Kyle was like, oh yeah, blah, blah. So like they talked for a second and Jesse thought that was them squashing the beef. So good job, Jesse. You're getting in there, always like finding the right ways to pivot into the drama. And Kyle said, well, I figured, I text you during the week. Like I figured we could talk tonight. And Craig's like, yeah, I answered your text. I don't want to talk tonight though, because we were in traffic for 5 hours. I'd rather talk tomorrow. And Kyle's being like a little relentless wanting to talk tonight. So that was a little annoying. Like he's like, no, I thought we'd just talk tonight so we could have a good weekend. Good point. But like, okay, he already said he doesn't want to talk to you tonight. But then this is where Craig loses me and he's not changed because he's being whiny, being a little whiny baby like he always used to. And he's like, I don't want to talk tonight. I just said I'd rather talk tomorrow. But I also don't know why Kyle would want to talk to Craig if he's being all grumpy right now because it would be a worse talk if he's grumpy. You want to catch people when they're in a good mood to talk to them about something not positive. So Kyle in Sutton's fashion, like we just talked about, she always does, storms off. He's like, this effing dude, and storms outside, probably to find the spot on the grass that they all go pee in. And he's just like, I'm going to fill the coolers up outside and like ignore him because he's just being annoying. Paige is getting annoyed at Craig though, because he won't just talk to Kyle. Like, just go outside. Actually, it's a good time to talk because neither of them are really drinking. I get you're tired, Craig, but like, boo-hoo. This would have been a good time to talk. And then guess what? Tomorrow would have been like totally relaxing. But maybe Craig is like saving the talk in his brain for like a big scene tomorrow for TV. Because we have to remember, sometimes these people are self-producing in their brains. So maybe he's like, no, it'll be like more entertaining for TV purposes if we talk tomorrow. But the normals go out and then the bedridden people stay in. They come back at 2:26 a.m. They are effing this kitchen up. And thank God no one turned the oven on, because when they all went out, Sierra's brilliant idea to keep Amanda's birthday cake fresh was to put it in the oven. Like, just put it back in the original box it came in. So strange. Where's the box? Like, you did not carry it in the car in your hands with no box. So just put it back in the box. Or if someone delivered it, they probably honestly had it like delivered from somewhere up in the Hamptons. I'm sure they delivered it in a box. It's just very annoying. But they all go to sleep. Jesse Solomon like screwed the kitchen up. He's like throwing chairs over. He was being like annoying. Like, I was like channeling like old Craig when he was like drinking liquor. I was like, you're being a little annoying right now. And then they were like, him and Wes were pushing their beds together. And I'm like, I can't with the bromance right now. It's so annoying. And Wes is just like annoying. His personality was not this annoying last season. And I'm not just saying that because he was like being nice to Sierra and now he's not. So I'm like, death to you. He's just like a frat boy, like bro. I don't know. And I hate that. I don't like that. They're bringing the mac and cheese in the room and I'm just like, no. So they all wake up. Craig and Paige are just chit-chatting a little. And Craig needs to talk to Kyle. And Paige is like getting so anxious, getting so annoyed. He thinks that Kyle doesn't even deserve this conversation. And Paige is like, I am getting annoyed at Craig with my own things. So we're tapping into the problems in the relationship. And then she's like, but now this is making me annoyed too, that he's not just getting this conversation over with and he's not seeing it's stressing me out. But she's also just sitting there not really expressing that it's stressing her out. So she should just say, yeah, I just can't wait until you guys get this talk over with because it's like getting on my nerves. So then the boys go to the gym and Jessie expresses that Lexi has said she only has sex with people she's exclusive with, which good for her. But at this point, they pretty much are exclusive. And then he says in the next breath, but she said she does want to have sex. And it's like, okay, so that was a pointless conversation, basically. Jesse's flirting a little bit with Sierra in the pool, though. I think it's harmless, but I do think if Lexi saw this, she would have a heart attack. And he's just like putting his face in her boobs. They're like sharing a pool float. And Lexi definitely would not like this. But Carl's giant pirate ship is rolling into the party, and I love this theme party thrown by Carl. It's so unreal that they have this giant pirate ship. They're setting up a stranded island, so they have this like blue tarp, and they're putting like little sand, a little chair, a little boat like that's out to sea. It's cute. It's so cute. And Kyle is like, I am not going to ask Craig for help over my dead body. So he recruits Wes to help with this giant blue tarp, him and Carl. And everyone's getting dressed for the party. Paige and Amanda have their little talk. And Paige is telling Amanda that she's just getting really annoyed with Craig. So they're both agreeing that they just want Craig and Kyle to talk, squash the beef, move on. Because Amanda, I think, is getting scared and nervous that she's going to have a Hannah 2.0 situation, but with Paige. And then they show a flashback to when Hannah and Kyle were screaming at each other. And she's like, oh, maybe he can talk to you like that, Amanda, but he can't talk to me. And then everything just blew up and they're not friends at all anymore. And I think Amanda is really getting nervous that that's going to happen to her and Paige. But Kyle is more mature now, more aware. And he's like in his confessional, I need to squash this with Craig. And I do not want it to come between Amanda and Paige. And he's like, and I don't want it to come between me and Paige. I think Kyle is so much more concerned about him and Paige not being friends than him and Craig. Because let's be real, him and Craig are like friends by association, like association with Paige. And now, current day, none of them have to worry about Craig at all because Paige is broken up with him. But she said to Amanda, Paige says that she's just getting annoyed with Craig because he just keeps expressing how worried he is about the relationship. And she's like, instead of him being proud and like supportive of Giggly Squad that I'm about to go on tour, he's just always bringing it back to himself. Not necessarily himself. It's like their relationship, but I get it. He is saying like, I just want to check in and make sure you like care about me. He needs like affirmation constantly all the time. That's why I'm just surprised that Paige ever even dated him to begin with. He needs a lot of attention. And Paige doesn't seem like she's caring about giving a man a lot of attention. She needs like a strong, independent man because she's a strong, independent woman. She needs a New Yorker. He's not a New Yorker, so he needs like too much attention. But I also, on the other hand, do think he's just checking in, seeing, okay, you're about to be so busy and we've been dating for 3 years. Like, are we just always going to live in separate states and just be boyfriend and girlfriend until I'm like 50 years old? So I see it from both sides a little bit. But Amanda said Craig should be supportive because this is what Paige has always wanted. And we're all just getting this serious insight. And Paige said to Amanda, I have a feeling that when I'm on tour, I'm going to hate Craig. Yep. Yep, you are. I just think that Paige isn't concerned about the relationship at all anymore, which is fine. But then break up with him. Because in her confessional, she's saying, like, my career is always going to come first. That's not really how, like, a marriage works. I know they're not married, but I'm saying if you want to ever be on the path to marriage with this person, marriage and kids, family have to come first. So then there was a post that she just said, let me pull it up real quick. So I was chit-chatting with Donna Bowling, which I'm going to have her on the pod again next week. But she posted in the after show, Paige said, him voicing his opinion that he wants to be prioritized above my career. He knows that even if I marry you, my kids are going to come before you anyway. So you'll always be third. Like whoever I marry will always be third. Interesting. So your career, your kids, who knows what's first? Knowing her, it's the career is first, which is weird. The kids are second. The husband's third? No. Just get a sperm donor at this point. If you don't care about someone, third is pretty low on the totem pole. It needs to be like, I get if you say I care about the kids more than the husband. So do the kids, then the husband, then the career. And no one's saying that means you have to give up. Look at Lindsay. She's having a baby. And the next day she's doing like ads for like Jersey Mike's sandwiches, like, or whatever that was. Like, she's still going to work. I just think Paige is not concerned about slowing down in her career, which is fine, but she needs to stop making Craig seem crazy that he wants to be moving forward in their relationship. I see it from both sides a little bit. But then we have Carl awkwardly flirting with this girl, Lil, that he has asked to show up. She's like a Pilates instructor, so it's Carl's friend. She's saying his pirate eyeliner kind of looks like lemur eyes. This is just so strange watching Carl flirt, but this girl's kind of awkward flirting as well. She's calling him a lemur. So maybe they're perfect together. And then Jesse's like comes up out of nowhere and he's like, are you spending the night tonight? She's like, I don't know, am I? And then he's like, you should. And then she's like, is this your wingman? Like, she's probably like, I love him. I wanted to spend the night. I was waiting for someone to invite me. But we're both so awkward that you're never going to invite me. So hopefully Carl's going to get laid at the end of this party. He deserves it because this party theme looks lovely and all the decor. Like some people half-ass it, order a couple things on Amazon and they're like, whatever. This is like full-blown Halloween at this house, which I love it. Paige and Craig go off to the deserted island to talk. And Paige said she doesn't feel bad for being busier in her career than when they first started dating. So she kind of is like mocking Craig a little bit. And she goes, hey, chicken, just checking in with you, making sure you're feeling appreciated. And he's like, I'm feeling very appreciated this weekend. I don't necessarily think that Craig isn't happy for Paige. I just think he's like, where's your head at? Like, I'm getting old. Like, we don't even live in the same state. Now you're about to be a lot busier. Like, what are we doing? She always takes it as like him saying, oh, I'd like you to like sit on a stool, a couch, eat bonbons, have 5 kids, and not work, and me do everything, me have the life, me have the career. He's not saying that. I think he's just like, oh, like, when are we maybe gonna like live in the same state? Not a weird question, valid question and concern, Craig. So we're gonna see on Southern Charm the fallout. So we're seeing it right now in Summerhouse. I can't wait to see on the next episode him and Kyle's talk, because of course we have to drag it all out, and they're going to talk on the next episode. I think that's making Paige turned off even more too with Craig. So this is like July. So we get August, September, October. She breaks up with him in November. So like 4 months from this filming, 3.5, we get her breaking up. I can see why, because she's getting the ick with Craig. And when you get the ick, it can't go away. She's mad at him about like not supporting her or her feelings. And she's getting mad about this Kyle thing because she's like, oh my God, you're going to like make waves in my friendships or with people I'm on the show with. And it's like awkward. And I don't want that. And why can't we all just get along? And at the end of the day, I don't think it's like necessarily wrong. Craig decided to, invest in something and worry about himself, because sometimes at the end of the day, we all have to worry about ourselves. But the fact that he doesn't think it's a little like shady or a little crossover that he has invested in a spritz company, which I believe Kyle when he says is a direct competitor with Loverboy. That's a little like, how would he feel if Kyle invested in like a pillow company or a home company, home decor, that directly competed with Craig? I think if the shoe was on the other foot, Craigie would be like, oh, and how dare Kyle do that? That's my biggest competitor. And he would want all of us to understand. Is he a do as I say, not as I do, like Sutton? I don't think is bad. But I do think Craig can be a little bratty, and his voice sometimes is a little annoying with the wine, because as we see, he was throwing the tantrum when he got the really fancy room. But now all of a sudden, like on Southern Charm, he's throwing the tantrum. Now all of a sudden he's throwing a tantrum on not even his show on Summerhouse. He's like, no, Kyle, I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm tired. So I don't know. Next week's episode is going to be very interesting when they start to talk. But let's take one more break, and then we will get into the season finale of Southern Charm. To all my listeners out there, it's not just the Bravo celebrities that want to look beautiful. We do too. Head on over to Studio One Salon for the most amazing extensions, cut, color, or even just a nice shampoo and blowout for when you go out with all your friends to talk about all the latest Bravo tea. Use my code BRAVOT with a stay-at-home mom to enjoy 10% off. And we're back to wrap this up with the recap of the season finale of Southern Charm, which I feel like is what we've all been waiting for. It wasn't as like earth-shattering as I was hoping and thinking, and I really wished that it was like the camera picking back up at the end, Craig talking about him and Paige breaking up a little more than that, because I feel like Scandival, we really got 20 to 30 minutes of the fallout. And it was like we were videoing Tom, we were videoing Ariana. Now, granted, they were both on the same show, so we had more content, but I was really hoping for more than like those 2 minutes at the end. I mean, let's be real. This is what we were all waiting for the whole season. And honestly, I was waiting to see maybe JT film by himself, but this is for sure when he quit. So we got him at the very beginning. Venita is going to meet with him to talk about all this whisper down the lane BS from the barber, that I'm wondering if the barber was exaggerating this because he maybe wants to get on the show. Just a thought, putting it out there in the universe. I'm hopped up on Diet Dr. Pepper right now, and that's just my thought. But she did say the haircut looks good, but we can never go to the barber again. And it's like, truth. And his hair doesn't look like it's that hard to cut. So it's like, we need to find somebody else. he is just really mad at Ryan because he is telling Venita, I literally didn't say that. And I just don't think that JT would say that. I don't know. But then it's also like, do you have a girlfriend or not? Like, we are so confused because you have flirted and led Venita on all season. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh, this girl's stalking me and I have a girlfriend. It's like, well, who's your girlfriend? Where's your girlfriend? Why are you not telling, quote unquote, Venita, your best friend, that you have a girlfriend? It's just like, why is JT there? These aren't his friends. Venita has taken a big liking to him this season, and Leva oddly likes him, but Leva's not even on the show. Let's be real. I love when they showed the preview at the end for the reunion. I don't remember if it was Craig or somebody else, but they were like, Leva, you talked like 5 times this whole season. Like, you weren't even there. And then Rodrigo's face was like, good point. It's like, yeah, you can't really sit here and have full-blown reunion conversations when you weren't even there all season. You weren't. You weren't on the cast trip. You are never meeting up and hanging out with these people. You really aren't. So it's like, we don't care what you think because you're not even there for the full picture thing. But so this is the last we saw of JT because he is saying he is not going to Soiree. He just doesn't want to. And it's fascinating. I think he came to the reunion because he wanted a paycheck, because I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this 100%, but I read before that, like, if you just quit and don't show up to the reunion, you don't get your money from the whole season. And it's very seldom people do that because, I mean, you at least put in all the time and effort all season when you want to be paid for it. And it's kind of like chicken and easy way out if you don't show up to the reunion, because this is where everyone really grills each other and Andy gets to sit there and ask the questions to you too. But Whitney and Shep go to lunch and he's trying to act like all high and mighty, like, oh, I'm so like over Sienna, like that's yesterday's news, like I'm not going to cry in my Cheerios. And it's like, well, you could have fooled all of us because you basically were crying and embarrassing yourself on that whole trip over somebody that seemed like you never even had that type of relationship that Shep is talking about. I would love if Sienna showed up to the reunion. I always have to pause for a second when I say her name because I feel like I'm about to say Sierra because of Summerhouse, but it's Sienna. And that would have been great if she was at the reunion. But you know Andy's going to go hard on Shep, I feel like, asking about the Sienna questions. And I can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say to Shep's face. And it's just hard hearing from Shep because, as he says, their relationship was super deep and she's like crazy and acting a different way. But I'd like her to be at the reunion to be like, no, this literally never happened, and bring the receipts. I mean, she brought the receipt from Whitney reaching out to her on Raya because Whitney was all like, oh, yeah, she reached out to me first. It's like, we've come to find out that's a lie. And we've come to find out that you've had a facelift, in my mind. I'm not saying that that has been like receipt proof, but he looks weird. He looks like a lady. Dude looks like a lady. Every time I see Whitney, like, he looks like a weird old lady. Just saying. And I'm so glad that Molly isn't hung up on him, because how dare he at the beginning shame her for eating that cupcake. But they're talking about how Molly seems to have a little crush on Shep, and now he's calling her. And he just said he can't imagine hooking up with someone at this moment. But it's like 2 seconds ago, you told us you weren't going to cry in your Cheerios. And you and Sienna weren't really like in a serious relationship, according to her. So why can't you imagine hooking up with someone at this moment? And I don't know if he's calling Molly for total show purposes because he's asking her to go to the party with him, the soiree. And I'm wondering if like the producers are like, oh, Shep, you should call her up and go with her because everyone's saying you guys would be cute together. So it would be sad if he's just totally doing this for the show, because I really do feel like Molly has a little crush on him. But maybe Molly's also doing it for the show. I don't know. But they do agree to go with each other. But I hope there is serious intent behind it for both of them, or if it is kind of producers nudging them together. But Craig is taking Paige to the airport because, as always, she's not going to stay and attend the soiree. I am disappointed. I get that she has a full-blown schedule, and this is basically why we find out she breaks up with Craig, because her career and schedule is just too much and she can't even fit Craig into it. But I feel like Craig comes to Summerhouse. Now, granted, they're all living in the same house, so you can't not socialize with everyone. But he comes up to Summerhouse and socializes with everyone. I feel like Paige comes to visit Craig and then doesn't socialize with anybody. Like, he did have people over his house, have a pool party, so she saw everyone then. And then in last week's episode, she saw Austin and that was it. But it's like, why don't you ever come on the cast trip? She didn't come on the cast trip last year, and she was supposed to, and then she didn't. So that was weird. And then now this year she didn't because she said she had 2 shoots she couldn't reschedule. I don't really know about that. And then now she can't even stay for the soiree. It's one day. I get if she can't go on the trips because that's like days and that's longer. But why can't you stay for the soiree? It's one day. What did you have to go home and do? And it seemed like because the soiree was that night, she's like, oh, in a couple days I leave for LA. Yeah, well, that's a couple days. So like, stay for the soiree. I don't know. This is when I'm seeing the relationship was never going to work because it's always 100% Craig budging and being there for Paige. And she is never even attempting, I think, to move something around for Craig. I get if something's like ironclad and you just can't. But the fact that like maybe you're not even trying also, I feel like. So then that's when they talk about their schedules. Just not singing up at all. And he's like, well, when am I going to see you next? And this is when she's like, well, then I'm going to LA and then I'm going back to New York and then blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to Italy with my family. Well, he came to Italy for some of the trip. So, I mean, they were going to see each other. But he's like, oh, this is like the longest we'll go not seeing each other. And it seems just like he cares and she doesn't. That's not him being needy. Like if you just don't even care when you see Craig next, then you aren't meant to be in a relationship with him, let alone maybe anybody. And that's fine. If you want to just have your own schedule and do all your things, because if she thinks someone else wouldn't ask, well, when are we going to see each other next? They would if they care. So I'm just confused why sometimes she always feels like Craig is being dramatic when all he's saying is like, well, when are we going to see each other next? I mean, they don't even live in the same state. He just would like to see Paige. I don't think it's selfish of him. Like I already said in my recap of Summerhouse, she's like, I feel like I'm going to resent Craig so much when I'm on tour because he just like wants to know if we're moving in the right direction. Why after 3 years in a committed relationship is that weird to check in where your relationship is going? Like, does Paige think 5 years from now, so they've been together a total of 9 years at that point, or no, I'm sorry, 8 years, that Craig will just be okay with like dating and living in separate states still? No, it's either you move forward or you don't. You're adults. Very confusing. And I feel like on camera, she acts this way. And then off camera, she's like, no, I want to get married and I want to have babies. But on camera, it's like, oh, no, I don't want to have a baby. Because that's why I think there's mixed signals in Craig's brain. And maybe that's like what happened to Shep with Sienna. Off camera or earlier, months ago, you're telling him, oh, I love you and I want to be with you. And then they all show up to the Bahamas and it's like, well, we're not even in a relationship. So Shep and I would have to establish that. It's like, what? He's thinking you guys are in love. He's giving you some shark tooth necklace and you're in a relationship. Everyone's very confusing. That's why I need like secret cameras to follow these people around all the time so I can hear every single word they're saying. But he drops her off. My husband pointed out it was like an awkward goodbye kiss. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I feel like we never even see Paige and Craig kiss. Like, right? It's like rare. It's like that movie Matilda. When you watch like bloopers and behind the scenes, somebody pointed out and said they actually only on the mouth kiss one time in that movie. Like the parents, the Wormwoods, Matilda's parents, just like do like air kisses, which is weird. Like you're supposed to be married in the movie, like to kiss on the mouth. And they only kiss on the mouth like one time in the movie. So this is like Craig and Paige. Like I feel like we never see them being affectionate and kiss. It's weird. But everyone is getting all dressed up for the summer soiree. And I love seeing everyone get like so dressy, so fancy, so Southern. I feel like it's 100 degrees though, and everyone's like sweating to death in their tuxedos. No one knows why Shep is wearing what he's wearing. And I also feel like he's the type that like he has money, he comes from money, he gets like his trust fund every month, but he's like that jerk rich person that like doesn't dress up. And I don't like that. And some people may have strong opposing feelings with me, but it's like my husband and I have been to weddings before, and a wedding invitation, just like this, is very important. Like when it says black tie, that's a man in a tuxedo and a woman in a full length gown. And they're not writing that for you to then show up in something else. Like dress code and written invitation dress code is very important to me, I think. And it's a sign of respect. If you show up in something else that someone has asked you to show up in, it's very disrespectful and rude. So I don't think Shep's is black tie and it's ugly anyway. So he needs a woman. He needs a girlfriend so he can have like proper wardrobe. But it goes back to I hate those people that do have money and they're like, well, I'm not dressing up because it doesn't matter. I have money. It's like, no, actually, everyone's looking at you that you didn't dress up. Thank you. Bye. I mean, my husband and I have been to formal. It says like formal, which means you have to wear a suit as a man. And then a woman has to wear either a gown or a cocktail dress. Like, so that's not black tie. Formal is one step off of that. But we have seen dead of winter at a wedding. It says formal, so you need to wear a tie. And the man, I've seen like men not wear a tie. They wear like a suit and they wear the shirt with a couple buttons undone with no tie. And it's like, first of all, it's not summer where we're outside like this. So I could see it being like not formal because it's so hot outside, but they did go inside. They didn't stay outside. I think it would be mean if Madison made them wear tuxedos and they were just standing outside all night. But I've seen people not even wear a tie to an indoor winter wedding when it says formal. That's a no. That's a no for me. Please don't make up your own dress code when the invitation is literally telling you how to dress. That's a big no-no. I don't like that. So I don't like, at the end of the day, what Shep is wearing. Even if it didn't say black tie, please wear something else. Like, he looks like a Confederate soldier. It's just a no. His wardrobe is a no all the time for me, though, honestly. But tension is a lot right now with Venita and Ryan and Leva, kind of. So they're going to go in another room and talk, thank God. Don't really know why Leva needs to be involved. But before that, we see Taylor and Sally talk. And I like forgot almost that they had like weird beef because like Sally like dated Gaston, whatever. And then, so when I put my TikTok out and I did my little recap the other day, I said it was weird that Gaston didn't come because he's on Southern Hospitality. But I was also like, maybe he didn't come because of all this BS with Sally and the whole cast. Someone wrote to me that he's not on Southern Hospitality. So that's my bad. I thought he was. Weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. I also don't watch Southern Hospitality. So I'm sorry that I was wrong about that because I really thought he was. And that's why I was always like, well, it's not a big deal if he comes on Southern Charm. I don't know. So I have to like kind of research that and think about that. But Sally said to Taylor, okay, so I have a problem with you, as always, because you were texting Austin saying, did you ask to see Sally's boobs? Because Austin is in a committed relationship. So everyone just wants to like take Austin down. So the producers always flashing it back, confirming that Austin did say in a joking way, Sally was like 20 or 10 feet away. And he's like, Sally, show us your tits. Like as a joke. Like, okay, if Austin was my boyfriend, no, I would not be very pleased that he's screaming, show us your tits to somebody. But it's definitely like a joke because Sally is removing her breast implants. So maybe it's just like, just a joke. And Sally's like, I don't like that you're like trying to start something. And she's like, I thought we agreed to keep each other's name out of each other's mouths. And I was like, oh, I like this. Taylor, we could just take or leave you because like I could care less if Taylor was on our screen. I'm still kind of mad at her, what she did last year with Austin to Olivia, who's supposed to be her best friend. Why is Taylor getting involved with an Austin situation after last year anyway? It's like, that's a joke. You're trying to have a moral high ground when you were like a backstabbing, two-timing slut hooking up with your friend's then boyfriend because Olivia and Austin for a while were just hooking up, but that should be enough. Like, I'm not touching my friend's love interests, even if they're just hooking up and they're not like labeled boyfriend or girlfriend with a 10-foot pole because girl code. But in this time period that they hooked up, they actually were calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend. So that's a no, Taylor. So anything you have to say about Austin, let alone moral compass and high ground of people with boyfriends or girlfriends, then asking to see people's boobs, no one wants to hear it from you because you had no boundaries last year. So goodbye. Venita and Ryan go into another room, though, to discuss the whole JT debacle. And they have Leva there. Don't know why Leva needs to be there because Ryan doesn't have no buffer. But Leva's like, I feel like I need to be here for moral support. No, you feel like you need to be in that room because you barely filmed all season and you need to be in the dramas. But then we get Rodrigo coming in for extra support. But then we got Madison sitting down on Ryan's side of the couch. And I feel like it's a housewife reunion or like a Southern Charm reunion, but more like a housewife. Because when they do the couch assignments for housewives, it's definitely like couch versus couch. It's like everyone likes each other on this couch. Nobody likes each other on the other couch. So that's kind of like what we have. And they start talking, but then we have Miss Pat come in and interrupt, almost like a Kathy Hilton would. And she's like, I have to leave. And it's like, why do you have to leave? What do you have to go home and do? You're an executive producer and this is the finale party. Like, stay. Even though there was a lot of people there that aren't on the show. So I did think the soiree was just going to be for the cast, but it's nice to see other people there. So I'm like, oh, so they did invite like real friends as well, not just cast friends. Even though like I still do believe these people are friends because we do see them hang out outside. And that's why sometimes the drama can get so good and juicy and important. Like Austin and Craig, they're crying on that beach because they really are friends. Now, sometimes when we get to the housewives, they're not even friends, so they don't care. And they have no problem yelling at each other and don't lose sleep over it because they're not really friends. Like Garcelle can sit at the table and be like, Kyle, are you a lesbian? Because she doesn't care. She's not friends. But that's why these people get so upset with each other when they have drama because they are friends. But Leva and Ryan end up really going at it instead of Venita and Ryan. And Venita and Leva just really are thinking that JT did not say these things. And Ryan was getting all red and like upset. And he's like, why would the barber make this up? And Madison even said that in her confessional. She's like, what would the barber gain with making this up out of thin air? Or Ryan? And it's like, I do believe, like, what would Ryan gain making all this up? And he cares about Venita. And he said that to Venita. He's like, I don't care if you want to date JT. I would support you. If you tell me, like, I'm in love with this person, I would support you. But I'm going to tell you these red flags when they pop up because that's what good friends do. And I really don't think Ryan would make this all up. Maybe the barber would make it all up to stir up drama, to be on the show and be involved, because now look what has happened. Like Ryan and JT are on the show, but now who else is on the show having a phone call? Like we didn't see a guest appearance from him, but the barber. So maybe the barber's like, oh, if I get into this drama, maybe I'll be on the show next season. Or at least my foot is in the door, which is like kind of screwed up because it's hurting Venita's feelings and hurting JT's reputation at the end of the day. If this is your barber, that's supposed to be like, it's supposed to be your like end all be all. I feel like when men go to the barber and women go to the hairdresser, like that's our ride or die because they know all our gossip. We sit in that chair and we divulge our life information and it's supposed to be under wraps. And JT could get in trouble, honestly, mid-season talking to an outsider about the show. Like this is what Jennifer Aiden and Teresa full-blown got in trouble, leaking all this stuff to bloggers and saying all this stuff while they're filming. You're not allowed to do that. So the fact that JT's even talking about what's happening on the show to the barber, he could get in trouble. But then we get Molly. So they hug it out, they get out of the room. We get Molly and Shep in the corner. And then everyone is in the other corner and they're like, oh my God, we want them to kiss. So Craig's like, I just text Shep and I was like, please kiss. It's so funny. It's like they're at like a dance or like I told you guys I was watching old episodes of Full House with my daughters. So this morning, the episode we watched was like, I was like having my coffee and I'm like, oh, let's sit and watch Full House so we can relax because they're like glued to the TV more so than their little cartoon shows that they watch. They love Full House. So like if I want to like chill and us just sit on the couch for like an hour, we're putting Full House on. So we put the episode on where DJ had her 13th birthday and they're playing Spin the Bottle. And Kimmy Gibbler coordinates, which is DJ's best friend, for everyone to get up. And when the boy that DJ likes spins the bottle, everyone gets up. So naturally, it basically lands on DJ because no one's like there except her. And that's how I felt about Molly and Shep. Everyone's like, oh my God, we need them to kiss. It's like back in the day, like playing spin the bottle, like making people get up that you know that like each other and them win the spin the bottle so they can kiss each other. So they go in for the kill, they kiss. And then Molly must have liked it because she kissed him again. And Taylor's like, yeah, I don't know. And it's like, you're seething with jealousy. Steam comes out your ears because I don't know if Taylor deep down still cares about Shep. I think she's just mad that like Shep could possibly be in another relationship or care about someone and give them more commitment than he gave Taylor. Because I agree with Craig. And that was a good question that Craig asked in the Bahamas. Like, are you mad sitting here seeing him like go so far with Sienna and like caring so much about her and being concerned, and he wasn't like that with you at all? And it's like, damn, that's a rough question, but it's a true question. And it's like, yeah, I do feel like deep down inside you're jealous, Taylor. Not because maybe you want to be with him, but because you're jealous and mad that he's giving other people more attention and more care than he did to you. So then there's fireworks at the end of the party, and it's said they did like kind of like a housewife check-in that they used to do. Remember when they used to do that and it'd be like a little picture of the cast member and it's like Melissa Gorga is like making the cake instead of just the crumbs, as Joe Gorga says, and they're still not talking to Teresa, current day, like the little updates. So it said Molly and Shep went all the way. So they must have banged it out that night. I mean, when he picked her up for the soiree, she had 2 White Claws ready to go as roadies. And, you know, it was like open bar. So I really didn't see much food. It was like finger food. So it's like we're getting all liquored up, but we're not having a sit down meal. It's just finger foods, I suspect, because we would have seen the dinner. So everyone was probably like getting rowdy. And then they probably went out after that. And I feel like they got it on. I'd like to know whose house they went back to, Shep or hers. Maybe hers. So that means her golden doodle. I witnessed them getting it on as well. But then it said in the updates that Venita and JT dated for 2 months. What timeline are we talking about? Because we are finding out at this season finale that he has a girlfriend. So when the frick did they date? And then it was like, so it said that they dated for 2 months. And then it said, but after this came out and it shows like a picture of JT and his girlfriend, an Instagram post, and it said, well, this was long overdue, meaning like he's finally like posting that he has a girlfriend and evidence of it and her face. It said Venita blocked him and never spoke to JT again. So obviously at the reunion, we get Venita not liking JT. So this is actually going to be such a fascinating reunion because we're going to get no one in JT's corner, like not even Venita. And I guess not Leva, but like whoever said that comment saying, well, you spoke 5 words all season. We don't care. So I guess no one's going to like JT at the reunion. So it's going to be a definite takedown. And that's going to be very fascinating. But we then get what we were all waiting for this whole entire time. We get the pictures of Craig and Paige popping up like, Craig and I have decided to go our own separate ways and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes, finally. So then we get Craigie holding the Diet Pepsi. And I was like, ew, Diet Pepsi and not Diet Coke? Nope. Or the Diet Dr. Pepper like I have. I will admit, I don't even drink. I'm hopped up on a little caffeine though. So like I will admit, artificial sugar. I don't drink soda. I like my Ollie Pops and I like Poppy, but I do not drink real soda. I don't. But today, I just had to get the fountain little diet sodas because we took our daughters as a treat if they were good and they ate their lunch because we went to our niece's house because she just bought a house with her husband. So happy. So they were in there like gutting everything, like doing paint samples. So we were like, if you eat lunch at their house, we all had pizza, you can get a Slurpee at Wawa. That's their treat. And then I saw the fountain soda there and I was like, I could really go for a fountain soda. Like sometimes you just want it. But the cans or the bottles, they don't have that like intense carbonation like a good fountain soda does. But moral of the story, I don't drink soda. And I was disappointed to see that if Craig had to pick a diet beverage, it was Diet Pepsi. I'm not a Pepsi fan. I'm a Coke fan if it has to be a Coke, or I like the Dr. Pepper. But he had Diet Pepsi in hand going in to Austin's house. But Austin and Shep were prepping with some rosé in true gossip fashion. They are like a girl's girl. Like, our girl's coming over. She's about to tell us that she got dumped. Because, I mean, it's almost like Craig is the girl in the situation. More so than Paige, I feel like. Because I feel like he cried tears and still cries every single day. And as I said in my TikTok, I was shocked we didn't get tears out of Craig. Wasn't everybody else? I really thought we were going to get some waterworks, him explaining this story. But we got the guys pouring some rosé, getting ready for the blow, like here in the fallout. And Shep's like, it just doesn't seem like Craig was driving this bus. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Just like you weren't driving no bus, let alone any car or like a scooter with Sienna. No, neither of you were in control. And then Austin's like, yeah, I feel like Craig had it figured out, but they just weren't on the same page. They weren't syncing up. So then they all sit down and Craig breaks the news to them. And he's like, yeah, I mean, like I go to her parents' house for Thanksgiving. Everything's fine. And then 2 weeks after that, she calls me and she's like, we need to talk. And he's doing like the awkward smile. And he's like, that's never good. Hearing that, getting that phone call. So Austin's like, so at Christmas, or you knew at Christmas. And Craig's like, yeah, I know, but like, I couldn't tell anybody except like my parents, but like I was dying to tell you guys. I mean, but Austin, I just didn't think I could trust you with that information because I didn't want it out. Because Shep's like, because you wanted her to go and say it to like, the news first, break the news to the world. And Craig's like, yeah, because I just didn't want it to be real. And it is true. And I think what Craig was leaving out, because he couldn't fourth wall break that much, I guess, I really think didn't want it to come out. And Paige kind of admits this. Like, yeah, I agreed to keep it a secret for a month, but then I was like, I need to live my life and I need to release the news, because he was doing promo for Southern Charm. And he just didn't want to be asked that on the carpet. And I can't blame the man. Would you want to be harassed on the carpet and all people ask you is, oh, you guys broke up, instead of asking him one single question about the whole season? Oh, how are you feeling about season coming out of Southern Charm? It's like, no. How did you feel about getting dumped? He didn't want to deal with that. But then he tells them, like, she told me to buy her a ring and I did. And then the guys are like, oh, shit. You can see like the look on their face. They're like, oh no, Craigie went out and bought that ring. And he's like, when did you do it? Like, how long had you had the ring? And Craig's like, before the summer. So we're talking, they're filming Southern Charm and Summerhouse. He already had the ring. That's rough. That sucks. And he said he went to New York, custom designed it. He probably had some friend like do it with him, which is even more awkward, because then when she dumps him, either Sierra or Hannah is probably like, oh yeah, I went with Craig and designed the ring. And Paige is probably like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me? Or, do you know what I just thought of at just this moment? What if they told, and by they, I mean Hannah or Sierra or Amanda, but I'm thinking like he more asked like Sierra or Hannah to go with. What if they told Paige, I went with Craig and designed a ring. You're going to get engaged. Like, if you have scary thoughts, you better figure it out right now because he designed the ring already. Oh my gosh. Is that what we all think? That's where my brain's at right now. They told her, or somebody told her. So then she's like, oh God, I got to break up with him. How mean to do it over the holidays as well. I mean, Craig is a walking Hallmark movie. He probably thrives at Thanksgiving and Christmas. And you're going to break that man's heart during that joyous holiday time. I mean, who doesn't love the fall? I love the fall. We get Halloween, which I love. That's not very Hallmarky, but I'm just saying, like, Halloween, and then we get Thanksgiving, and then right after Thanksgiving, we get Christmas. It's just such a joyous time of all these parties or seeing your friends or celebrating. Not for Craig. He's too busy crying in a pillow, probably, seeing his parents at Christmas time in Delaware. I mean, I thought we were going to get a little longer of a filming, but he says to the guys, I think I took a video of it. Let me just pull it up. This is his whole little, so it's like a minute and a half. I'll just play it.
Everything was normal and her parents, like our chemistry and like everything, like then a couple of weeks later she called me and was like, we gotta talk. And you're like, it is like prior to Christmas? Yeah. Like I knew. Like I was like, I can't believe this is like happening. And it was really calm. She's like, I need to like find myself. And she's like, I have to take control of my life again. And we need to break up. When it happened, like the only people that I wanted to tell was like you guys and like you specifically because we were crossing paths. But the truth is like I couldn't let it get out yet. And I like, it was a bummer because I was like, I don't know if I can tell Austin and not say something. So were you waiting for her to go public with all this? Yeah, you were. I wasn't going to say anything because I didn't want it to be real. She asked me to buy her a ring, and like I did. Like I went to New York, designed this like whole ring, and when was that? For last summer. Then she was like, actually, hold off. Looking back, maybe that was her starting to panic or freak out. It's tough because like I offered to move to New York. Like she asked me to raise kids in Manhattan, and she's like, you will resent me forever if you have to live this life in New York. I just think it's so rare for like a love to come around. We were best friends. We loved each other. We had a great sex life. We just checked so many boxes that you're like, why am I going to find? Like, what are we doing? How are we giving this up? Yeah. It's weird to like mourn someone that's so alive.
I should have basically just played that at the beginning. I'm sorry. Like I basically said all that, except, okay, so we got Craig saying, I didn't say this part yet, he was going to move to New York. I did say that in podcasts ago, though, because we've come to find out when he was on like Watch What Happens Live, he told Andy, like, you knew about it. We talked about it. Like I was going to move up here. The fact that he was going to give up all of his life for Paige, and she's like, you're going to resent me, which is true, probably. And that is what does happen to people. Like he would have moved up there. They would have got married. They would have had kids. They would have been fighting. First kid pop out of that body, he would have been like, if we were down in the South, it would be better. Like, look how we're trying to raise this kid in this apartment in New York and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we see how he acts when he has to be told he needs to share a bedroom with someone in a presidential suite. Like not even share the bed, just the bedroom with a friend. So yeah, he definitely would have resented Paige. And I think it's for the best. I think it's for the best they broke up. I know it sucks. And then like, I agree with him. Like when you get older and you find someone that just checks all those boxes, it's like, how are you going to find someone else? Like, and maybe Paige a year from now will be like, damn, like I regret breaking up with Craig because as our schedules were like tough to work out, or like maybe I didn't have enough time or I didn't feel like giving enough time, I'm not finding someone like that again. Like Craig was definitely willing to give up everything, and not everyone's going to do that. Not everyone's going to She didn't even want to meet halfway. And that's not a relationship. And I don't really care what people say. Like, I feel like you either are getting the Craig stands or you're getting the Paige stands. You're really not getting a middle. And I'm kind of a middle because maybe I'm more leaning towards Craig, though. Like, if I really gun to head had to pick one, I would pick more the Craig side, because it's like Paige feels she doesn't have to change her life at all or make any sacrifices at all. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, from someone who is married and has 2 kids, yeah, you do. If you want a healthy relationship, you both need to do 50-50. You're both going to have to compromise and you're both going to have to budge. It's not all like my way or the highway, because those type of relationships, in my opinion, aren't going to work, or they're just not healthy relationships. If you have a pushover husband or you have a pushover wife, it's not going to be good, because the other person is going to just totally give up their happiness, period. I mean, my husband and I, we had to agree on our furniture in our house, our paint colors in our house. I mean, he doesn't care that much about the paint, but like, you think I'm going to force him to get a couch he's not going to want to sit on every day of his life and watch TV? No. Like, he's going to want to be comfortable on the couch. You think I'm going to just totally bulldoze and pick our kids' names and he's not going to like it at all and actually tell me like, well, I don't really like the name. And then I go, well, I don't care. Like, no. So I was hoping we were going to get a little more than just that. I was hoping like we were going to get the scene with Austin and Craig and Shep. But then I was hoping we were going to get maybe all the girls meet up and just talk about it. Like how we got on Vanderpump. Like, just them go, like, what do you think about Paige? Like, why didn't we get Miss Pat and Madison really talking about it? We did in the after show. Like, Miss Pat was like, I think every time Paige came down there, she didn't care to see us all and be part of the group and budge at all. And all it was Craig giving, and her not at all. So I am interested to keep watching Summerhouse, though, because I can't wait to see when they pick the cameras back up and Paige has that talk with Lindsay and Amanda. Maybe my mind will change and I'll be more on Paige's side then, because it can be a little back and forth. I'm usually not an indecisive person, but I really am like, I need to see more of what Paige was saying to Craig behind closed doors. I really think it was like, yeah, buy me a ring. I mean, that's what he said. I don't think he would like lie. But then everyone's going to laugh at me right now and be like, oh, you don't think Craig's going to lie? He's a born liar. He's a lawyer. He's a storyteller. But I don't think he'd really lie about this because it bites you in the butt. But also, before we wrap up the recap episode, I have a little tea that I just saw. So you know how, so Sierra and Amanda were on Watch What Happens Live. I didn't finish the episode, but they're kind of like talking about everything, because now we're watching Summerhouse and we're always seeing Kyle say like, oh yeah, Craig claims not to be a liar, but he keeps lying that he wasn't kicked out of my wedding. Yeah, you were. I need to know what happened, as the rest of the universe does. So Amanda was like on Watch What Happens Live, but she wasn't really going into detail of saying it. And I'm like, I need to know. So I was just on Instagram before I hopped on here, and Your Moms Are Watching posted this. And it was like, ask me anything. And it says details on why Craig was kicked out of Kyle and Amanda's wedding. So somebody wrote, oh, I guess this is Millennial Bravo Mom, but Your Moms Are Watching posted it. And it says, guests weren't allowed to use the inside bathrooms. They were supposed to use porta potties. And Craig refused and tried to go inside, and he was escorted out of the wedding. Allegedly. This would like make sense as the story, because like I just said, Craig got so irate that he had to share a hotel room with best friends that's also in a presidential suite that's being paid for by Bravo. Totally like kicking and screaming like, well, I don't want to share a bedroom, like I'm a grown adult. So he's probably like, I'm a grown adult and we're at a nice black tie wedding. I don't want to use a porta potty. I'm going to go inside and use Amanda's parents' house. Like, I know Amanda, I should be allowed to go inside. Well, no, because I will give Craig that, not point for, I feel like he thinks like, no, I'm Craig Conover. I'm going to do what I want. It's like, no, bitch. Like even the grandma at the wedding has to use the porta potty. So do you. Like when they say wedding guests, they mean everyone. So that's you. Why do you think you're special? You ain't going inside. The only person that's probably going inside is like Kyle and Amanda and the parents that own the house. Like I bet even Kyle and Amanda use the porta potties. Like, why do you think you're above using the porta potties? So that could check out. And I could think that that's the reason. But I also find that really ridiculous that just because Craig was refusing to use the porta potty and he was going inside, you're going to have him kicked out of the wedding. What I think is probably the porta potty mixed on top of, I bet he was blacked out and he was belligerent because that's the time period when he was being an annoying drunk and Paige is almost breaking up with him. So I really think it's more so he was like totally blacked out and being annoying. And then he like refused to use the porta potties and kept going in their house. So I don't think it's just him trying to go in their house to use the bathroom. I think it's more like him being belligerent, a mix of that. And then the porta potty episode, then he's getting kicked out. But I find that very fascinating. We need like Amanda's parents to go and watch What Happens Live and like discuss everything. But I will keep everyone posted about the porta potty saga with Craig Conover. But I think this episode was great. We did a lot in the recap. I really feel like I had to spend more time talking about Southern Charm because it was the season finale. And can't wait to see what's to come on Summerhouse for more of this. I'm really over like Dorit and Sutton like battling all season. And I really kind of want to like fast forward to Summerhouse to see that. But next week's episode is going to be good because we're going to get Craigie and Kyle talking. And we're going to get more of like that inside of the whole Spritz versus Loverboy, which I want to try Spritz. I'm not going to lie. Because I've told you my opinions on Loverboy. It's just whatever, take it or leave it. But maybe if anyone has had a Spritz, tell me how it tastes in comparison to Loverboy or just how it tastes in general. And I will be on the lookout for Spritz maybe for this summer. Maybe I'll support Craigie because I feel bad for him.
Got that vibe, make some